Hello and welcome to the first royal chess game ever to be commented on YouTube. Now this is a game between Roborona and Chess King 83. This game was played about a week ago. Let's just get started. Let's get into this game. Now White starts off by bringing his Rhino into the game, bringing it to e4. Black responds with a pawn move. White does the same, another pawn move by Black. And now the wizard gets into the game to d3. And this wizard move is actually pretty good, because getting your wizard into the game early is a smart move, because it does strike at many central squares. So that was a good move by White. Now Black brings in the knight, another knight move by White. Then the bishop comes over to h5, threatening the center. Immediately the pawn is kind of shushing the bishop away, and please note that the wizard is defending the pawn, so the bishop cannot capture. Bishop goes back, pawn move by White, another pawn move by Black, and both players are getting some development in. Now the bishop, the dark squared bishop of Black, is knifing through the defense of White, so White has to do something there, and the bishops are off the board. The wizard takes the bishop. Now there's a rhino coming into the field, the black rhino, and the rhino is of course a dangerous piece, but the knight was threatening the bishop there, so the bishop goes back, and now castles by White and castles by Black. Another knight move, more development in, and you see with royal chess a bit more development has to be played. Now the queen is getting into the game. Another pawn move by Black, pawn move by White, and another queen move. Queens are centralizing, getting on some important diagonals. White is expanding on the queen side. Black is countering that with a6. a6 is ignored because b6 is played, and we have a rook move here, and another pawn move. Moving forward, you can already see that White is basically taking in a lot of squares now. Black is countering that by pressuring the dark squares here. Now the pawn is moved one square further, and please note that the rook is defending that pawn, but also the rhino is, so the rhino has to move, and it moves back to its original square. Rhino now puts the king in check, and the king goes into the corner. Now it's time now to kind of analyze this position about 19 moves in. Let's just see what kind of position this is and who is actually better here. Now I think it's quite clear that White is currently better here, because if you first of all look at who has the most pieces into the other person's camp, and let's just say that the camps are divided after 5 squares, which is logical, well, you can see that White actually has 3 pieces into the black camp, and Black has none. So White is kind of pressuring Black here. But there's another factor that is at play here. For instance, if you look at the normal pieces, the normal heavy pieces, so to say, you can see that it's all equal other than the new pieces, so the wizard and the rhino. Because look at the wizard and the rhino of the white color. The wizard and the rhino of the white color are both doing something. They're both attacking. The rhino, of course, is very aggressive, very much forward, just check the king. And also the wizard, maybe not ideally placed, but it still has many central squares. It does defend the knight to its left and the bishop to its right, so it's really an important piece. And now let's look at those new pieces, but then from the black side. Well, they are not doing anything at this moment. That wizard is really has not moved yet, does not do anything, and that rhino went one time he went forward, but then it had to retreat, so it's not doing much. And they are back to their home. That's not good. So black is not doing that shabby at this moment. But let's progress. Let's go on with the game now. Now, the rhino just put the king in check, and the king went to the corner. Now, white is doing a little rook lift there. The rhino is shushed away. Rhino goes back, and now the wizard gets finally activated, and the rook is eyeing up the pawn in front of the king. The knight is threatening the rhino. Rhino goes back. Black develops a pawn. Now the knight threatens the most advanced piece in the black camp, and knight got a little aggressive there, moves back, and now gets captured by white. And there's a knight exchange here. Now the rook is defending the pawn. Black is progressing with his pawn. Ooh, there's a bishop move to the back, and it might be eyeing up the g8 pawn of black later on in the game, but let's see how it goes. The rook is defending the c9 pawn, which is now the rook is immediately shushed away. Basically, black just lost a tempo here. The wizard gets into the game. There's a rhino move by black. He has to do something. The rook joins the party. Now the wizard progresses even more, but very slowly. Now there's a pawn break on g5, and the pawn is captured by black, and the queen is capturing back. So now the queen, the white queen, is very centralized there, very dangerous piece, and black is continuously under pressure. Black is trying to counter that. Now its knight is being shushed away. Queen needs to find another home. Black is progressing. White ignores, goes forward, and the knight goes back even further. The rook had not much value at g3, goes to J3 goes to G3. The wizard made another move, went to E8 now. Wizard is taken off by the bishop, which is always a bit of a... you have to weigh the pros and cons here, because the bishop, of course, had a very powerful diagonal, still takes out the wizard. What does that mean for the value of the wizard and the bishop here? But, queen takes back, and let's just look at this position now after more than 35 moves. If you look at the camps again, you see that black still does not have any pieces on the white side, yet white has 3 pieces on the black side. So still the pressure is on for black. But one other thing that is really something that caught my eye, at least, is that, if you don't do the vertical, if you don't do the horizontal line, but you do a vertical line, well, then you see that black actually has a very fragmented board. It plays on both sides of the board. For instance, here you can see that 3 of the pieces of black are on the left side, so the queen side, and 3 of their pieces are on the king side. So very fragmented play, and especially because there's a rhino on the right and a knight on the left, both not super fast in going to the other direction. Of course, the rhino a bit faster than the knight, but still you do get a fragmented kind of play. And if you look at white, then you see a totally different picture. You see all the 6 heavy pieces, so you have minor pieces and heavy pieces, but the 6 pieces that can actually go into the deck are all on the king side, the side where the action is. So that's really dangerous for black. But yeah, that's life, I guess, for black. So black is under pressure and white seems to be more focused. But let's continue the game. The rhino moves to e4. Knight goes back even further. I don't know what that knight is doing, but maybe a mistake here. Queen goes to h4. There's a pawn move. Now the rhino again goes to the g7 square. Dangerous square, of course, to have a rhino on. Knight approaches the situation. Another pawn break for white. Knight now threatens the rhino. Threatens capturing it. Rhino does not want to be captured. Goes back. There's a rook move on e10. Now pawn captures, knight captures, rhino goes back a little bit further still. A rook is threatening the wizard, rhino goes back, waiting move it seems. The wizard is taken out, rook is taking out the rook. There's a rook left by black and a doubling up on the f-file for white. Black seems to be interested in taking out that rook. It is successful. Knight takes rook, and there's a flight square inserted by white. Knight moves one square. Now the king is being checked, and this is a dangerous situation now. Of course, it's blocked by the bishop. Queen is now doubling up on the f-file. The knight defends, but it all barely fits. Now a pawn is taken out on c9. The king gets into the game. The queen doubles up on the last rank, the 10th rank. Knight defense. Now the rhino comes, puts the king in check. King goes to h9, and now maybe it's a good moment to analyze this. And we see that now black really is in trouble because all of the fighting, almost all of the pieces that matter are in this square here, this red square. And that's dangerous. And that king is in there and he is in trouble. Now let's see how this further develops. Queen takes out the b-pawn. And the knight wants to take out the rhino. Rhino captures a pawn. Rhino now in trouble. The king goes to hunt it down. Rhino is actually short on squares. Even though it can jump quite far, 3x2. It now has to go back to a place where the knight can take it out. It does. It is actually taken out by the knight. And the queen captures the knight. Queen now decides to put some pressure on the rook. The rook gets out of that pressure and asserts some pressure on the queen itself. It's covered by its own queen, of course. Queen gets out of that problem. And now the b-pawn is starting to run. Apparently white now wants to push the b-pawn to victory. And this looks really problematic for black. It is under very large pressure here. Queen is threatened, and now finally black decides to go on the offensive. But is it too late? Is it way too little too late? Well, first white chooses to defend that situation because of course you don't want that queen to be there when the knight is unguarded. So queen gets a chance to take out a pawn, and now the b-pawn keeps on running. What can you do? Well, black puts the king in check, the king runs, and the rhino also joins into this attack, but the b-pawn progresses, and in this situation, with the b-pawn so far down the board, black decides to resign. Now, the resignation, of course, is, I think, justifiably made, because there's nothing you can do against that b-pawn. It is defended by both the queen and also the rook. When it gets into a queen, there's no way to get there. The queening square is a black square, and yeah, everything is falling apart. With another queen on the board, it will only be time that stands between black losing the game. So yeah, resignation, so resigning, I think, is completely logical. Alright, that was my coverage of the first royal chess game ever played. Well, there are more chess games that have been played with royal chess, but this is actually the first game where, you know, everything was written down. So here you go. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you thought, you know, this kind of chess is an interesting way to play chess. Let me know in the comments down below. I know this game is not going to get a lot of views, but, you know, this is Royal Chess. It's a new game, and I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching this game. See you later. Bye-bye.